morning. We always like in the morning to set you in the right course, and what better way to do it than to give you some inspiration and to challenge your thinking. And over the past few weeks, this conversation has been going on online and offline. I'm sure you've had these conversations at one point or another. It's all about the boy child. It's been in memes, people saying boy child lewa taumia, boy child this and boy child that. And there's the conversation being that the focus is moving away from the boy child. He's been called neglected, he's been called abused, and it's been quite a healthy discourse, both showing the rudimentary levels of thinking and the delving into the complex issues. But to help us unpack this is Dr. Wale.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing?
Zuri sana.
Uko salama sana. Welcome, as always a pleasure to have you. What is the boy-child problem, and is there a problem?
I don't know, because it's one of these words or phrases that just came up and then it became big and big and big and big, and
right,
you know. And my thinking on many of these things is very different. There are children problems.
Okay.
There are male children problems. There are female children problems. Now, so what we're dealing with is the male children problems. Okay. And I think the big question is, is there a problem?
Is there a problem? Yeah.
I think the biggest problem is just like when we talk about leadership in Africa. You know, I have thought about it extensively. People say we have a leadership problem. But at the end of the day, I am almost tempted to believe that our problem is not a problem of leaders, it's a problem of followers. Okay? Because it is the followers that empower certain people to become leaders.
So you are who you elect.
Yes.
Right.
So when you look at the people that are representing a group of people, that is the face of the society. So when we look at the problem with young men and with the male race generally, I think it's a problem of fatherhood. I think it's a problem of fatherhood. So we have young boys growing up with no role models, no positive role models, no mentoring, all right? And so they are just left to market forces, as it were. So if we're going to solve that problem, and you know, what is the problem? You have young men, I mean, people who have grown. Of course, one of the things I have believed is that the fact that you're born male does not make you a man. You know,
right.
The Bible says a child was born, a son was given on the cross. You know, so what is that process of growing up? You find out that a lot of people lost that process because, number one, they didn't have role models, like I said, and then you also have the negative impact of a society that glorifies the end, you know, and does not care about the means to the end.
So the end being
being that I glorify the fact that somebody drove in a really nice car,
right?
But we don't want to know how he got it.
Right.
So you have a lot of young people who are under so much societal pressure, you know, so much pressure, and they don't have people to mentor them, to tell them, you know what, your identity should not come from these things. And that's why I said the big problem, boy child, man child, young boy, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day is the problem of fathers, absentee fathers. I have seen a lot of places where the man is absent in the life of their sons, you know. And so what happens? The sons would now get values from their house helps. Their values. So, in fact, there was a study that was done some time ago, very interesting. Look at some of the highbrow neighborhoods, all right? And you find out that there was a prevalence of drugs amongst young guys in those neighborhoods. And when they looked at some of the behavioral patterns, it was very interesting to note that those kids and the kids in the high-density areas, you know, were exhibiting similar traits. You know why? Because the house help in this highbrow area is the mother, is the father of those guys. So, and these are the guys. So these house helps are raising the kids, their own kids in the slums, and raising the kids of these parents who are not available for their children.
Right.
So it is so important, if we're going to solve, you know, and preserve the future, we must sacrifice time in the present to preserve the future. And that time we're sacrificing is going to be to pour out values into our young people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation going on everywhere about national values and things like that. You know, and I've been part of some of these conversations. And I think, Willis, the time has come for us to stop beating about the bush. We need to call a spade a spade. When we talk about these values, are we looking at just, you know, there's a difference between idealism and pragmatism.
Right.
Idealism is, this is the way it ought to be. A lot of the times, we're getting our so-called values from an idealistic point of view. This is the way it ought to be. And we have neglected the pragmatism of the way it really is right now. Alcohol is on the rise. All right, amongst young people. Drug use is on the rise amongst young people. Prostitution is on the rise. And so now, if all these things are on the rise, that means the forces of demand and supply are at work.
And let me ask also, because, you know, most people, whenever this conversation starts, it boils down to people saying they feel a lot of attention has been given to the, you know, lady, because of, for the basis of this conversation, the girl child, right? And they feel like from the beginning, like from the time, you know, they're coming up, from when they're young, so they get into this system where all this attention is given to them. Even when they grow older, this attention is still being given to them. So essentially, you have, again, just for the purpose of this discussion, a fully grown woman trying to go out there to look for a half-baked boy. Literally, in this case, a boy, because they graduated into being a man. So is this part of the problem? Should there be more programs, like you said, mentorships for
but we need to look at the root of it. You know, we grew up in a society that was very skewed in favor of the man.
Right.
All right?
Patriarchal.
And yes, patriarchal.
Right.
That is where we started. Now, the women, now seeing this, and you have to give a lot of credit to some of the women that have been at the forefront of this, and unfortunately, it got misunderstood. It got misunderstood because you find a lot of women realizing that, you know what, we need to empower our own. Because if we leave it to these guys, they're not going to do that. So the women began to empower their own. But what were we doing? We were encouraging ours to follow in that footpath of, oh, it's just go out, just drink, just to... So you find out that they were empowering their own. We were not empowering our own. And that's why I still say the root of the problem is absenteeism from the male figures who should have been empowering and mentoring the next generation. All is not lost, because it's never too late to become right. You know, it's never too late to be right. So all is not lost. If we, and I've said this on this show so many times, that the youth are the future of a nation. The youth are the strength of a nation. Even the Bible says, I speak to you young men because you are strong. You are strong. The youth is the strength of the nation. And so we must have a backup system. If the fathers are absent, the society, we should create structures and systems that will empower them. When I was young, there was a club we used to go. It was an all-boys club. We had things that were very powerful, like the Boy Scouts movement. We had all these things that were support. So, you know, and in fact, what used to happen was some of us who were absolutely rebellious, you know, as kids, my mother took my name to every prayer group she could find in Nigeria. Pray for my son, Wale, you know. And, but you see, and it's not that my father was not there. They were there, but there was, but you know, the peer pressure and a lot of other things which are not to be said on camera.
Right.
You know, were going on. But you had these clubs, these Boy Scouts, where you would go camping. They instilled discipline. And you see, whether you had money or not, you could be a Boy Scout. Right. It had nothing to do with social status and all that. Now, a lot of those things are being lost. We need to go back to them. So even when you have an absentee father, okay, you have systems in place that can step in and help raise and instill values in these people. So I would say we should support, you know, and revive and really put support to things like the Boy Scouts movement, really put support to, you know, programs. There are some churches that have really good programs. There's a church that I saw their program, it's called Boys to Men. You know, there are churches that have really fantastic things. I'm doing some stuff with kids from the Madari and all that. I think we should get behind these. The number of young boys who look at me as their father today, it is phenomenal. Because I'm the one they can talk to. I'm the one that finds out, what are you doing with your life? There was one of them, he was talking of, he had a girl, he had this girl he liked. I said, my friend, will you get out of that nonsense? I said, God gave Adam work before he gave him a wife. You have no work, you are looking for, you see, you have no work. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to eat air? Thank you. You know? So, but you see, a lot of guys don't have that people to tell them that. You know, so I told them, I mean, I call a spade, not an agricultural tool. I say it like it is. And I say, you got to be dumb, you know, going in that direction. He listened. They listen, because many of them just need someone who will tell them the truth, no matter how hard it is.
And also, speaking about that, there are people who are probably watching, and you know, like you said, all is not lost. It's never too late to do right. There is definitely, you know, because of the absenteeism we're talking about, there is definitely, we've seen a rise of single mothers, right? And so they're probably watching, and they're wondering, I have a son. So what do I do with this son, and you know, to fill the gap of this father who is absent? What do I do with the son that I have right now?
That's fantastic, because I know a lot of people like that, and that's why I said that a lot of programs, even now, that are going on in different places where they are instilling these values in these young ones. It's important, get them plugged into such a program where they will have a mentor, where they will have male figures that they can look up to, where they have people who can tell them they are wrong. You will be shocked that one of the things that a lot of these my boys out there treasure most is when you correct them. You know, when you correct them and say, you don't do that. You know, they listen. And that is what is lacking. Because when you don't have that, guess what happens? They look at their friend. I remember during the election violence, I asked some of them, what do you do this? And they said, you know what? They told me the truth. They said, when there is violence, we have an opportunity to go and rob, to loot, and all that. Then we have money, so we can have a nice girlfriend, you know. That's what's driving it. And I said, you know, when you begin to put their path on their feet on the right path, they will turn out right. So it's not lost.
So there's still more to be done. Now, there's also that battle now. What happens? How do we change this discourse? Because I mean, if you look at social media, the attack, there is the feminists, if you like. Then there are people who are still arguing for the boy child. I think there was even a hashtag about that. So what should be done so that we are having a conversation that is, you know, helping to push the agenda forward, instead of just doing the common social media thing where we'll talk about it this week and then we're quiet until something happens, then it comes out again, 2-3 days trending, it goes away. What kind of conversations do we need to have so that we see change?
Willis, you know, there was a time in my life I had this illusion that I could change the world, and so I tried so hard to change the world. But I realized that there were too many levels of permission. And I'm a rebel by nature. I don't like... I believe it's better to say sorry than please. So, I realized I cannot change the world, but I can change my world. Willis, if all of us who have been blessed by God to a certain level, if all the men, young and, young men, all that, who have been blessed by God to have direction in their lives and things are working for them, if we make up our minds, we are going to adopt one young boy and just mentor that guy. You know what? We're not going to need funding from anywhere. We're not going to need... No. We will do it. So if we can do that, and we have to look beyond ourselves. One of the things that has helped me in my life is that success is what you achieve for yourself. Purpose is why you do it. But significance is how you use it to impact others. Success without impact is not going to lead to significance. And successful people are forgotten. Significant people are never forgotten. So let's share the success. And you see, no matter how messed up somebody may think they are right now, there's somebody looking up to you and who thinks, wow, God has blessed that guy. No matter how. So if we take it up, if we draw a national campaign and say, adopt a boy, all right? And we just make sure we're checking up on them. We're finding out, how are you doing today? How was your week? Or things like that. And then we are correcting them. But most importantly, they know that if they need direction, there is somewhere they can go. If we do that, I am telling you, we are going to see dramatic changes. In my little way, I have seen so much in terms of change. Because, and we need to do this. Because the women have left us behind, man. When it comes to empowering their own, they have gone far. But they also need to help us. Because the truth is, when you have all these empowered women, who are they going to marry? Will they marry themselves?
It's a lie.
Who are they going to marry?
Right.
So you need to, the ladies also need to help us. How will the ladies help us?
Right. Yeah.
I think it's important that, all these empowered ladies movements should not be in isolation of also helping to create platforms for empowering the men. Because if you just do it in isolation, then you are in trouble.
Right.
You're in trouble. Right. But let's do it. And that's why when we started, I am kind of, concerning being gender specific. Right. I think we should just focus on empowering the next generation.
Instead of
male or female, let's empower the next generation. Empowered young men means that our ladies, our daughters will marry fine gentlemen. Empowered ladies means that, and you see, the empowered lady is not a male basher. Because there's also that misconception. It's not a male basher. The empowered lady is a lady who says, you know what, I am complete in God and I'm complete in myself. You understand what I'm saying? So when I get married, there was this, I think it was Teddy Pendergrass many years ago, wrote a song, 50-50 Love.
Don't tell your age now.
Oh, go away. 50-50 love, right. And that is the thing. It is not 50-50 love.
Right.
It is 100-100 love. Is that I am putting 100% into this, you are putting 100% into this, because the relationship equation, in the relationship equation, 1 + 1 = 1.
All right. Speaking about, now that you mentioned relationship, there's also probably a father who is watching, or somebody who is about to be a father, and they're wondering, to.
Are you speaking for yourself?
Well, who knows?
We know what you have been doing.
What's up, people? Thank you, Jesus. But speaking about my train of thought. Okay, I'm back.
You want to be a father?
Yeah, speaking about people like me who want to be fathers.
There we go.
Yeah. What do they do? Because, back in the day, like you say, when you're growing up, the way back, you'd see grandfathers, talk to now our fathers, and, even our fathers, teach us practical manly things to do. You need to be a man, you need to provide, you need to do this and this. And it's just dawning on somebody that, wait a minute, I've been absent. What do they do?
First thing is listen to your son. Listen. My sons and I have a very unique relationship. They're my friends. And I think that's the most important. They be friends. So if, when you're friends, you will get to hear about things that can lead to landmines before it happens. So when you're friends and you listen and they know that they can come and talk to you about anything, then you have already created an environment for them to succeed. And that's very important. So you want to be a father, you're about to be a father. Make up your mind you are going to be a listening man. A listening man. A lot of times, one of the problems with us guys is that we listen, but when we listen to ourselves.
Right.
We only listen to ourselves, but let's listen. So when that boy comes and he begins to talk to you about certain things, and I think, like I said, we're talking about the boy now, but it's basically parenting.
That's the root.
It's basically parenting.
Right.
Listen, understand, listen, get to know. There's a verse in the Bible where the prophecy came about a boy called Joseph. He's going to be great. The Bible says the father kept those things in his heart. Again, concerning Jesus, the things that were said, the mother kept those things in her heart. So you're watching, and then you're able to nurture. You're able to see these are the natural strengths this guy has. Let me help encourage that. My son is a DJ, all right? And you should have him on your show.
Yeah,
one of these days. My son
soon.
Yes, my son is
Shout
a DJ.
out to Winnie.
There we go. My son is a DJ. And one of the things that I love to do is to create space for my boys, for my children, basically. I listen to what they're doing, and I ask myself, how can I create space for them? All right? And that way, they're able to tell me, oh, we did this, this worked, this didn't work, and all that. Why do young boys get depressed and get into a lot of things? Maybe they are ambitious, they are visionary, and they try this, it doesn't work. They try that, it doesn't work. Then they get into a depression, they get into alcohol, they get into a lot of things. But when you are listening and you identify that, then they talk. And then you say, oh, you think that's something? Wait, let me tell you my stories of failure. And then you're able to encourage them, and they get encouraged. So listening is the number one thing. Listen, observe, and then input. Yeah.
All right, so listen, observe, and input. What about, there's another thing that is only a challenge, the so-called mama's boy. Now, this can happen in, I guess, both scenarios, whether it's a single parent or an only child. You find that maybe the boy is just, that's like the only boy.
Yeah.
It's an only child who's a boy, and then they turn out to be what they call mama's boys. So is being a mama's boy a bad thing?
Is that when you're like the mother's pet?
Yeah, mother's pet. Like
yes.
you even when you grow up, you're still comparing everything with what mama done taught me. What mama said. Mama used to say. Mama says you don't do this. Mama says you don't do this. Let me consult my mother.
Well, it may console you to know that I've written a book called The Things My Mother Taught Me That Don't Work.
Well,
and the truth is this. I think parents need to be careful.
Okay.
Because a lot of parents are setting up their children for a bad future. And I look at it from both sides. The mother, who is that overbearing, pampering person where her son is concerned, has put that boy in a position where he's going to look at every woman in the light of the mother. Same thing, the over-doting father, where the daughter is concerned,
right,
is putting that daughter in a place
that is little girl,
where she's going to look at every man in the light of her father. Now the truth is, that way the child can never do wrong in front of this overbearing parent. The child doesn't have to do anything to be loved by this overbearing parent, and that can create a false sense of security. So when they now get married, they now go into marriage looking for mommy or daddy. I think it is so important to let our children grow up and know the reality of how life works. As a parent, one thing we like to say is, oh, I don't want my children to go through what I went through. Now, when you listen to that from one angle, it's nice. I understand where you're coming from as a parent. But when you look at it from another angle, you are what you are because of what you went through.
Right.
You see, there was a process that made you who you are. You know, we all know the butterfly, when it's trying to come out of the cocoon, if you help it when it's coming out, it will never fly. The character to deal with success is developed in the cocoon of obscurity.
Hello.
It's developed through the process.
That's good, yeah.
All right? When we rob our children of process, we have robbed them of their ability to succeed. So, my children will not go through exactly what I went through, but you know what? They will have their own process, and I am not going to interfere. Yeah.
All right, powerful stuff. Well, we have a few minutes left. I'll just look in that camera and just address the boy child.
All right.
Or like you say, the man child. Whichever,
or whatever it is.
Whichever it is.
You know, in every boy, there's a man. And you need to get to a point where you realize what the Bible says, forgetting those things that are behind, and I'm pressing on. I press towards the mark of the high calling. Until you are ready to let go of the boy, you will not embrace the man. Don't be scared to say you're wrong. Don't be scared to ask for help. Don't be scared to admit where you're weak. Because only the person who admits he's wrong will ever find correction. Only the person who admits he's lost will ever find the way. So you may be watching right now, absolutely messed up, thinking, oh God, what is my life turning into? Where am I? You know what? Reach out. You can reach people like me. That is why we are here, to help mentor, to help tell you that it's never too late to be right. And today can be the first of the best of the rest of your life.
That's what's up. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. I will not add anything but to say that you can reach Dr. Wale at Wale Akinyemi. That is on Twitter. On Facebook, it's Wale Akinyemi Resource page. And you can find all the information about how to reach him there, his books. I do recommend you read one called Drive. That one is my favorite, Drive and The Billionaire Within, but there are many others that he's written, but those are my personal favorites, so make sure you go out, check them out and read that as well. So we'll be back again next Monday with Dr. Wale, God keeping us, and we are the men.
Yes, we are.
We are the men. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the morning, but don't go too far. Coming up next, we're going to be doing some archery. We're going to get out of these clothes and shoot the bullseye. Boom! Good morning.